Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retirement Ready TV, where we go into depth on all things retirement related. What does it take to make a successful and fulfilling retirement? And what are some of the mistakes that you can avoid? I'm Michelle Davidson, and we are so fortunate to have people like Tim and Laura Schultz, who are right here in Cleveland, helping so many people realize their dreams for how many years now?
15 years when I created Preservation Retirement Services. It's crazy how fast time flies.
That is so wonderful. And I'm sure you have seen it all, heard it all. You're probably not shocked by many stories.
Yeah, we see a lot of the common questions. You know, people worried about taxes and legacy and how they can keep as much of their hard-earned money. But we've seen some crazy things also.
We have. It's awesome, though. It's really what's most rewarding to us is to help people through the highs and lows of retirement. You know, that cheerful day when you actually get to retire, we get to celebrate that, folks. Sometimes, with folks, sometimes it's bad situations, like the passing of a spouse, but we get to be there and help our clients through it, which is what we love about our job.
Because you build those great relationships. We do.
And everything we do is customized for our clients. So we get something out there, bring it on, we'll figure it out.
Well, I look forward to hearing some of those stories and learning some of the strategies that two of you have. And by the way, welcome back and congratulations on another season. We've got a new channel, a new day, new time.
Yeah.
All those things, and a new location. We decided to invite you, our viewers, into our home. We're sitting here in our beautiful lake house on Portage Lakes down here in Akron. We love to be here with our family, so we treat our clients like family. We think of them that way, so we thought we'd bring you in as well.
Yeah. People of Northeast Ohio was great to us last year, and we've met a lot of wonderful new clients, and we've formed some great relationships, and it's just good to be back.
And it does feel so cozy in your home, so thank you for inviting us.
Oh, welcome.
Today, we're going to talk about 401ks, and we have a brand new segment.
It's called Annuities Can Do What?
What?
Oh, boy.
And then Laura has a question from one of our female clients about her 401k.
How should you structure them if you're married?
And then you're back to the Retirement Ready Light Board.
I am. I'm going to talk about the three-legged stool. It's been talked about before. I want to make sure everybody understands it because it's super important.
Lots to cover, so let's jump right in with our topic today, 401ks. Now, I actually Googled the question this morning because I was curious how many people in the U.S. today have a 401k plan, and it said more than 70 million.
It's a lot. It's a big number. That is your employer-sponsored plan. So we're going to talk about the 401k today, but when we're talking about it, really it's also the 403b, the 457, the TSP, in Ohio Deferred Comp. Blame the IRS is really confusing, but these are all employer-sponsored plans.
And that's where we really find a lot of our clients have their wealth centered because there are some tax advantages.
Yeah.
Either these are tax deferred, if that's the right strategy for you, meaning that you get a tax deduction when you put money in and it's taxable on the way out. Yeah. Some folks have Roth 401k options, 403bs. We'll talk about that in a bit, meaning it's taxable on the way in, but tax-free on the way out. That could be a great strategy. But one really important thing we always talk about when it comes to 401ks with our clients is making sure you're taking advantage of a match. So for a lot of folks, when you put money into your 401k, your company will match a percentage, 3, 4, 5, 6%. Even if you're not sure about contributing, it's so important to take advantage of that match. We call it free money.
It is free money.
So at least contribute that much. Whether you can do above and beyond depends on where you are in your working life. Maybe when you're younger, you can't, but we increase that percentage over time, but you don't want to leave free money on the table.
That's right. And I did some Googling as well.
Did you?
And 65% of employees do take advantage of these employer-sponsored plans. It is a big number. I think I saw $7.2 trillion are invested in all these plans. So it is something that you need to think about. You need to use it properly. And the free money is huge, Laura.
And the one problem, and we'll talk about what are the issues with 401ks in a bit, but it's not often that you can get a lot of advice about your 401k. There's not necessarily a retirement planner like Tim and I that are sitting there that's going to give you customized advice based upon your personal financial situation. So that is the one downside that we see with those plans. And, you know, at some point in your retirement life, it may make sense to reach out to somebody to get some help about how to invest your 401k appropriately.
Because the 401k is that classic set it and forget it. It's that roller coaster ride. You put the money in, you pick whatever you're going to choose in your 401k or 403b, TSP, all those things I covered. But you're just kind of riding that wave of the market, right? And
unless
it's not,
you yourself make changes.
Exactly. And so it's not managed. And that's when people need to start thinking about as they get in or in retirement or get approached in retirement.
So it sounds like there are a lot of good reasons to take advantage of a 401k plan if your employer offers one. What about people who are at the far end of their career and now they have this 401k that has done pretty well? What's the best way to put that money to work?
Yeah. We talk about this all the time. What are the key ages in retirement? And most people think it starts at 62, Michelle. And then that's when you can turn on Social Security. And then people think of 65, that's when you can turn on Medicare. But really, it's 59 and a half, because that is when you are allowed to do an in-service distribution from your 401k, right, Laura?
And that means you take money from your 401k and you roll it into a rollover IRA.
Right.
Why would you want to do that, you might ask? Well, there are so many more investment options in the IRA world than there are in employer-sponsored plans. Usually you have a few funds, but particularly as folks approach retirement and they want to reduce risk, 401ks just don't have a lot of safe money retirement strategies.
Nope.
You might have a money market option or something like that, but it's not even going to keep up with inflation. So for those folks that are looking particularly to reduce risk or have their portfolio actively managed, if they're worried about having those big swings right before they retire, that's when you can roll money out into the IRA where you have every investment option available to you and somebody who can manage it. That's an option in the IRA world. That's why that 59 and a half in-service distribution age is so important.
Yeah, all money really ends up in an IRA eventually. But most people think you have to wait till you retire before you can get that money over to an IRA, and that's just not the case.
How can folks at home connect with you?
Sure. Reach out to us today, 440-345-6900.
You can give us a call and leave us a voicemail, or better yet, text the word READY to that number, and you'll receive a link to download your very own Retirement Ready Toolkit.
Fantastic. So act right now or
Do it
wait
right
till
now.
tomorrow?
No.
Do it today. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we'll talk about how your 401k can work hard for you and your retirement plans. We'll be right back.
Just living the dream right now.
Yeah, that's the one thing we really want to do is travel and adventure in our retirement. And we weren't even sure before what we'd be able to do. But after partnering with Tim and Laura, it's like, okay, we're good. Tim and Laura were able to visually show us where it would go and how it would grow. You know, we'd be able to actually have fun and leave a legacy for the kids. Everything that they do is, pinpointed to us.
Preservation Retirement Services. Get retirement ready. Call today.
This year, we've added a new segment called Annuities Can Do What? And the reason is because we found that conversations of annuities can be quite polarizing. People have strong feelings about them. Most of the time, it's because of misinformation or a lack of correct knowledge. Now, I'm here in this segment every week to demystify annuities, educate, and hopefully share some knowledge with you. Now, before we get into this week's topic, I do want to share some basic annuity information with you. Let's call it Tim's super abbreviated Annuity 101 class. So what is an annuity? An annuity is a contract between you and an insurance company where you give them a lump sum of money up front for a fixed period of time for a contractually determined rate of return or income stream in the future. Ugh. Right, that's why annuities can be so confusing. But let's try. Laura and I use this chart. We call it our annuity spectrum chart. It's the easiest way that we found to explain an annuity. There really are only 3 types of annuities out there. Under each type, there's a bunch of subsections. But on the far left is a fixed annuity. A fixed annuity is just a guaranteed rate of return for a predetermined duration. Think of it as a CD on steroids. On the far right side is a variable annuity. A variable annuity has the highest fees out of any investment product. Your money is in the market. Now listen, we believe that your money should be in the market, but we believe it should be managed for less fees, and then you're not wrapped up in a long surrender period. And then the middle one, the hybrid that we believe in, is a fixed index annuity. Now, most of the time, fixed index annuities have no fees. You can never lose any money. If the market goes down, the insurance company covers all your losses. When the market goes up, which we like, then you share on the returns with the insurance company on your predetermined index that you set up for the current year. Every year, you can reallocate your investments and you lock in your gains every year. The bottom line is annuities aren't bad. We believe they might be a part of your overall retirement plan. Make sure you talk to your retirement advisor about them. The problem is that there are many annuity sales reps out there that are overselling them because that's all they're selling. unlike Preservation Retirement Services that offers both insurance solutions and managed money in the market. They are selling the wrong annuity to the wrong person for the wrong purpose. Listen, are annuities perfect? No, but no one investment solution is. That's why we believe in diversification. The downside is that they're not fully liquid. However, you do have access to typically up to 10% of your annuity value every year without penalty. So let's get into today's topic of 401ks and why it might make sense to roll them over to a fixed index annuity. Now, we find here at Preservation Retirement Services that your employer-sponsored plans, which are your 401ks, your 403bs, your 457, TSPs, or your Ohio Deferred Comps, they just have a lack of safe money investment options. It's either going to be a money market account that is not guaranteed and the rates can fluctuate, or bonds. And bonds, most people think are safe, but they actually are not. They can go down as well. Just remember 2022. So if you're 59 and a half or older, think about potentially moving over some or all of your 401k to a fixed index annuity and take advantage of all it has to offer for safe money investing.
Now it's time for my favorite segment of the show, Women Get Retirement Ready, where we take a question submitted from one of our female viewers. Why do you care so much about this?
Well, as I've had the pleasure of sitting with women across Northeast Ohio, I hear from women that sometimes they're a little bit nervous about asking questions to their financial advisor. They've had an experience with their life, whether it's through a banking situation, getting a mortgage, a financial advisor, where when they ask a question, they feel like they're stupid.
Yeah, you don't want to feel stupid.
Or
in
like
any
they're
situation.
talked over. So I wanted to give a safe space, both on the show and at Preservation Retirement Services, for women to be able to ask questions and get answers, because I've been in a place in my life where I didn't know anything about financial topics. I found myself sitting at my kitchen table about to get divorced from my previous husband, and I realized I didn't even know the login to my own bank account. Mm-hmm. And so I've been there. I've felt that sort of shame about knowing the things that you should. I'm very educated. I'm a lawyer, for heaven's sakes. How did I not know how much money I had or what was in my 401k? It's just easy to get there through things in your life. Obviously, I've come leaps and bounds since then. And now I get the privilege of helping women to learn more about their finances and ask their questions. So maybe you should hear one.
Yes, we have a question from Sandy.
Hi, Laura. My question is about my 401k. Do you think it's important for me to have my own, even though my husband has one too? Maybe it makes more sense for us just to have one.
That's a great question, Sandy. I always advise folks that they should have their own investment accounts, not just rely on a husband or put your piece into a husband's. There's a lot of reasons why. First and foremost, that assumes that you and your spouse sharing an investment account have the same risk tolerance, right? And what we find a lot of times is spouses are very different. And it can go either ways, but a lot of times I find female clients are more conservative than their male counterparts. Obviously not always, and I don't want to make generalities, but we do find that spouses don't always agree on investments. So we want someone to feel confident in their own investment strategy. But even more than that, if we have both spouses contributing to a 401k plan or 403b, 457 TSP, employer-sponsored plans, it gives us more bandwidth to get the tax advantages that those retirement accounts allow. For example, you can contribute almost $30,000 each of you to a traditional 401k, or sometimes even better, a Roth 401k. Mm-hmm. A Roth 401k is the best way to get the most money in a tax-free retirement plan. And if we have husband and wife contributing, they both can get their contributions in there. Or if we think that the tax-deferred version of the 401k is the better solution for that family, it gives us more money to be able to contribute to those accounts. So either direction, I just encourage folks to have their own individual accounts. Can we have a joint account too? Sure, maybe we have a joint non-qualified investment accounts, but everybody should have their own contributions to their 401k to maximize and diversify.
You'll feel more comfortable if you do.
You will.
Okay, so now if you have a question for Laura and you're a woman out there, what can they do?
Well, text the word question to 440-345-6900 and we'll submit instructions on how to submit your question. And if you're one of those ladies out there that says, I don't know if I want my face on camera, don't worry about that. We'll get your question answered one way or another. We don't want you sitting there with an unanswered question. We'd love to address whatever's your mind on the show.
Great information.
Welcome everybody to this week's segment of the Retirement Ready Lightboard, where I try to explain sometimes some complicated retirement concepts to you right here visually. So if you don't mind, I'm going to draw right here on your television. Hope that's okay. So today we've been talking on the show about 401ks, right? So I want to talk about the three-legged stool concept today in the Retirement Ready Lightboard. So let's begin. The three-legged stool. So the idea behind the three-legged stool, and it is a common concept that a lot of retirement planners talk about, but I want to make sure we all understand it. And what it means really is, here's your stool. We have these three legs, right? So here is retirement. Now, for those that know my wife, Laura, she talks a lot about her grandmother. Her grandmother lived to be almost 104 years old, which is amazing. And that generation had three incomes for retirement planning. And it's changed recently, but we're going to talk about it. So there's always been Social Security. That is your one leg of your stool that you rely on for retirement income. The other one is just kind of personal savings. You know, this is just your emergency fund that we talk about a lot here at Preservation Retirement Services. Just money in the bank, savings, CD, stuff liquid that you need just for emergencies. And then going back to Laura's grandmother, she had a pension. And most people did have pensions back in the day. In fact, the U.S. Department of Labor has stats that in 1980, 60% of private companies offered pensions. Now, 2024, the year before, only 15% of private companies offer pensions. So this idea of pensions in the three-legged stool, meaning for income when you retire, is dropping, almost non-existent. Here in the state of Ohio, it really has to do with public employees, right? Public employees, the big three are OPERS, PERS, teachers, STRS, school employees, SERS. There's police and fire. There's some smaller ones. But even so, here in Ohio, don't forget, if you're a public employee, you don't have Social Security, you don't pay into it. So if you have the WEP, the windfall elimination provision, that's a whole nother issue to talk about. But the reason why pensions really went away was back in 1978 is when the 401k was created. So the pensions really have been removed, and now the 401k has taken the place of the pension. And what that has done is it's shifted the risk from the employer to the employee. So now it's the employee's responsibility to put money into his or her 401k to build up that third leg of the retirement stool. Because now we have Social Security, which is always there. We have personal savings, which is even more important now. And now it's the employee's responsibility to contribute to the 401k, 403b, TSP, whatever that might be. That's the employee's retirement plan. Now, it's important to know here in 2025, the limits have increased how much you can contribute to your 401k. So in 2025, it is now $23,500. You can contribute up to $23,500 if you are below the age of 50. Now, if you are over the age of 50, there is what's called a catch-up provision where you can contribute an additional $7,500. So if you are over the age of 50 for this year, calendar year 2025, you can contribute up to $31,000 into your 401k to build up that leg of the stool. I hope that makes sense. It's so important for the three-legged stool here in retirement. You need to have Social Security. Most people will have that. Savings, that personal savings is so important to make sure you have that personal savings for those emergency funds. If something happens, you don't want to have to liquidate your retirement accounts. If you need a new car, if your washer and dryer breaks, if your gutters fall off, whatever that might be, savings is so important. And now with pensions dropping every single year, your 401k is vitally important. Hope that makes sense. I'll talk to you next week. Take care.
That was a great analogy.
Yeah, thank you. It's an important analogy. It's very common in the retirement planning industry, but each one of those legs of that stool is important. You need to understand how it works for you.
And particularly if you're one of those folks that doesn't have the pension leg of the stool,
Yes.
as many don't, this 401k conversation that we're having today becomes more and more important. If you have an income gap at retirement and you're going to rely on that 401k savings that you've been building up all these years, having a diversified portfolio, having an advisor to help you becomes more and more important.
Yeah, that's a problem with pensions continuing to go down and down and down. That's why you need to understand this.
Okay, well, right now we're going to take another quick break. But for those watching at home that want to pursue a conversation with you, what should they do?
Very simple. Just give us a call. The same number we've always had, 440-345-6900.
You can call and leave us a voicemail. You can text the word READY to get your very own Retirement Ready toolkit. We'd love to send that to you and continue the conversation.
Absolutely.
And when we come back, we're going to discuss getting the most out of your 401k with a free, very special offer from Preservation Retirement Services that you won't want to miss. We'll be right back.
Women have a lot to be proud of. We get a lot done, but too many times we take care of ourselves last. If you're married, there's a good chance you'll outlive your spouse and all the financial decisions will fall to you. If you're single, it will be up to you to fund your entire retirement. That's a lot to carry by yourself. I'm Laura Schultz, and at Preservation Retirement Services, we can help to take some of that off your shoulders. It's time to put yourself first for once. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Welcome back. We've been talking about 401ks, and Tim and Laura have a really amazing offer for you that you really should consider taking advantage of.
So here's how it works. We find that a lot of people are more aggressively invested in their 401ks than they really want to be. Your 401k has a bunch of investment options and allocations, and these allocations really should be checked and adjusted periodically because the changes in the market can affect the performance of your plan, and typically nobody just pays attention to them.
Set it and forget it might work when you're in your 20s and 30s, but when you get close to retirement, that last 10 years of retirement, it's really important to check in and understand what level of risk you have in your 401k, particularly if you're like many folks out there, that's where the majority of your portfolio is situated. So our offer for you is this. If you are 55 years or older and have $100,000 or more in your 401k, we would like to do a crash test of your 401k. What do I mean when I say crash test? We're going to analyze your portfolio, your 401k portfolio, to see how it's invested and how would your 401k, as it's invested today, perform under different market conditions. What if 2008 happens again, the Great Recession? What if we have inflation that's at decades high like we did in 2022? How much risk is your portfolio at? Could it go down 20, 30%? That's something really important to know before you reach retirement.
So if you're one of those people who have that set it and forget it mentality, take advantage of this crash test today. See if you're set up properly for retirement.
That's a very generous offer and could really add up to real dollars for people.
Real dollars, it's real.
Yeah, we find all the time people are shocked that their portfolio is exposed to as much risk as it is. And they're like, I don't want to lose 20, 30, 40% right before I retire. That's the worst case scenario.
That is the absolute worst case scenario. You cannot let that happen.
Okay, before we run out of time, I want to talk about your unique process with retirement planning. How does it work?
Well, what we find with folks is they have all these accounts, 401k, IRA, but they don't have a retirement plan. So for Tim and I, we come in at the end and we try to put everything into a retirement plan, but that can be overwhelming. So we developed this process, the Retirement Ready Roadmap, to make it simple for people, but also cover all the things we need to. ROAD. So we always start with R, which is review. And that's review the risks that could affect your retirement. We just talked about market volatility.
It's a big one.
What if your accounts went down 20%? But other things, rising taxes, long-term care. There's a lot of risks out there that we want to address proactively.
Yep. Oh, Laura, is from Optimize. We're talking about optimizing taxes for you and for legacy for your children when we pass.
We want to keep the most money in your pocket.
Not give it to the government.
You got it.
Legally.
That's right. A, we've been talking about today, that stands for allocate, allocating your assets. That's a fancy way to say, how do we make sure you have a diversified portfolio that's set up for success in retirement?
And D, last but not least, is distribute. And it has to do with distributing income. So when you retire, and if there's that income gap, and a lot of people do have one, Laura,
They do.
Where do we take money from to cover that gap?
So how can folks at home use that roadmap to help with their 401k?
Yeah, so one thing we've already talked about is both the R and the A market volatility and allocation, thinking through, is your risk level in your 401k appropriate for where you are in retirement? And taxes is important too, right, Tim?
Very important. One thing we talk about a lot is taking advantage of a Roth 401k. Some employers do offer that. Some don't, but we're finding more and more do, right, Laura?
And many people don't know it's even an option that's on the table.
Correct.
So something to think about, taxes is still important even in your 401k. And that's because a lot of folks have used only that tax-deferred 401k.
Right.
They have a lot of money that's building up that tax burden that's going to be distributed out in retirement. And if you think taxes are going up,
Which they probably are, 99.99%.
that's right. If you already have so much money tax deferred, it might be worthwhile to think about building up for the last few years that you're working that tax-free retirement account, that Roth 401k. The only caveat we say is make sure you understand what the match rules are. Some employers don't match in the Roth 401k. So you want to make sure you understand that. But we got to think about taxes.
Yep.
We got to think about risk. And you just need to think about, if you are 59 and a half years or older, using that in-service distribution option. That's something we help with folks with all the time.
That's important. Whether you use your 401k or your Roth 401k, that is something you need to talk to your financial advisor about, because the decisions you make now will impact everything down the road.
And many 401ks don't have a great safe money retirement strategy.
That's the problem,
If you're
right?
feeling like you want to be more conservative than your 401k allows, really think about utilizing that in-service rollover, and a retirement planner, an independent retirement planner like us, can help you find a safe money retirement strategy that's right for you, that can help you reduce risk and keep up with inflation at the same time.
Exactly.
It's all about that customizable strategy.
It is.
Sadly, our time is up. I know.
It goes so
But-
fast.
But thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
inviting us into your beautiful home and sharing such great information. If there's someone at home that wants to reach out to you and connect, what's the best way to go about that?
Just call the same number we've been giving out for years now, 440-345-6900.
You can call and leave us a voicemail. You can text the word ready to that number. We'll send you your very own retirement ready toolkit. And also, if you're ready to start the conversation, have a one-on-one conversation with Tim and me about your 401k, how it's allocated. We would love to set up your very own no obligation retirement ready review as well.
Don't forget about that special 401k crash test analysis that we talked about earlier. Just call 440-345-6900, or you can always visit us online, retirewithprs.com. That's retirewithprs.com.
Then you can also find you on YouTube, the old episodes, which is pretty cool.
They're all on the website.
All right, well, don't wait. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.